Hey, everybody. Pastor JB and Pastor Brandon.
I didn't know if I was supposed to say my name.
Yeah,
Sorry, I interrupted
certainly
you.
can. You're good.
Okay.
And who are you here at the church?
I'm our spiritual formation pastor.
Isn't it apropos that the spiritual formation pastor is on this podcast? It's perfect. I'm the worship arts pastor. I like to say I'm the court jester. I
think you're a little more than that.
I sing and play guitar. You have been joining us this whole time. I'm hoping you've been tracking along with us. This is season 4 of Radiant Reflections, and we've been going through the book, Practicing the Way, Be with Jesus, Become Like Him, Do As He Did by John Mark Comer. And I don't know about you, Brandon. I'm just having so many more conversations with other people who are reading this book and are being impacted by this book, as well as the Rule of Life podcast. You know, a lot of people are kind of tracking along with that, and God's using that in their spiritual formation in really big ways. And so I'm excited to continue this journey. Remember, our goal for this entire season of Radiant Reflections is for you to have begun or maybe even completed a Rule of Life document. So this is just a document, and it can be in a variety of different areas of your life, but it's meant for you to live the happiest life you can and bear the most fruit for God. That's it. That's what a Rule of Life is for. It's for you to be as happy and joyful. Doesn't mean life's always going to be that way.
Sure, yeah.
But it does help when you have some Spirit-inspired, Scripture-inspired strategy around the way that you live day in and day out, because the world will just eat you alive.
Yeah, it's still, in spite of life and stuff, you can still have that joy and that peace that's because it's so deep into your soul that you have that base. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm too.
So what coffee are you drinking?
I am drinking, I think it's from Corvus. I can't remember. It's back here in the green room.
Okay.
And so this is the worship team's coffee.
Okay.
I don't really, I'm pretty sure it's from Corvus, but the tag is gone. So.
So you're just kind of waiting. So what notes are you getting?
I would say chocolate covered cherries.
Okay.
Some kind of citrus, of course, oranges, limes, something like that.
So little richer coffee.
Yeah, it's a little darker.
Okay.
It's a little bit. Yeah. It's probably a light medium versus the normal light.
Yeah.
That I had an awful thing last week, man. My PID controller on my espresso machine took a crap.
I don't even know what that is. I know what an espresso machine is. But
so the PID is the thing it's the brain inside of it that controls like water flow, temperature, the timing of how the water goes.
So it's kind of like a computer?
It's the computer inside the espresso machine that basically governs how the shot is pulled.
Okay.
And it took a dump.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So had to box that thing up and send it back to the place for repair.
Okay.
And that was a whole thing. Then they emailed me and said that your espresso machine has been damaged in shipping. So they're filing a claim, with UPS or FedEx. I don't know who it was, one of the shipping companies, and to do something. So
okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So you'll be fighting that for a little while.
I'm not worried about it. Yeah, I just drink drip, and then I also have I backed. So what is the backer thing? Kickstarter. So Flair. Have you heard of Flair Espresso Company?
No.
Flair makes manual lever machines.
Oh, I've seen those on YouTube.
Yeah. Flair Pro, Flair 58. They've got 11 different models. So they had this new one called the Flair Go.
Okay.
And it's a lever espresso machine.
Okay.
Not a machine. Well, sort of. That collapses down to be about this big.
Oh.
It literally came in like a little zippered, hard
but you can
case.
pull a shot with it.
You can pull a shot with this thing. Okay. I was really excited because I prefer espresso over drip.
Okay.
And so I've been working with that, kind of learning, And
is there like how fast you pull the lever, or is it like baked
So there's a
into the
gauge.
machine?
There's a manual gauge. Because the lever, essentially, the lever has a metal bit on it that reaches the top of a piston.
Okay.
And then as you pull that lever, that bit just pushes the piston down manually. And as you're pushing the piston down, there is a gauge that comes out on a stem. So I can see how many bars of pressure, which traditionally on a machine, you want 9 bars of pressure for espresso. You can't quite get 9 bars on this machine.
Okay.
But you can control, like you could do a pre-infusion, you can do a hard, You could do all kinds of stuff.
So you're getting a workout and getting your shot all at the same time.
Well, it's not really a workout, but yeah, sort of. It might be a workout for you.
No, I go to the box.
Oh, talk more. What's the box?
The box is CrossFit. In fact, I just left the box prior to shooting this podcast, and our workout today was you had to do 6 rounds of this workout. So it's just a timed thing. So as soon as you get your 6 rounds, you're done.
Yeah.
And had to do 60 double unders, which is jump rope, but you swing the rope twice. Okay. I can't do that.
Okay.
I can barely do singles.
Yeah.
And then we had to do devil's press, which is kind of like a burpee. You go down on 2 dumbbells, and you do like a push up into a plank, and then you like kind of burpee up. Okay. But then you got to swing the dumbbells above your head.
Oh.
You had to do 5 of those.
Okay.
And then you had to do dumbbell rows, which is you're back in a plank, and you just do 1 arm at a time, just pulling them back.
Yeah, I know.
And had to do 10 of those. So 6 rounds of that.
Okay.
I scaled all of it.
Okay.
And it took me 12 minutes, and I was dying at the end of 12 minutes.
Did you feel like you were going to throw up?
No, not quite to the throw up. I try to not push myself to that point.
Right.
I did early on. A wise man told me, my dad, he loves to ride bike, an exercise bike. And he told me on this last time he visited my house, he's like, don't do tomorrow's ride today. And I've been applying that to CrossFit. Don't do tomorrow's workout today. Mm-hmm. So that way, that way you will go back because you're not so sore from pushing yourself too hard.
Sure.
So I'm trying to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
I'm still a student in that. So, that was a fun workout, but you do lots of warm ups and stuff prior to that. But I mean, that's full body. I mean, when you're doing a burpee and swinging weights, and jump rope is hard.
Yeah.
Have you done?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a speed rope at home.
Okay. I can only do like 1, maybe 2 double unders in a row. I'm just not there yet, but I don't practice enough either. So I could totally dominate your espresso puller thing with piston.
Cool. We're gonna have to bring that in and give it a go.
Yeah, you'll have to show how it works and the pressure, and
it's fun. It's a fun machine, and it actually pulls pretty nice shots.
So, because you and I, we've had conversations in the past off camera about the type of beans for espresso shots.
Yeah.
Can you get the beans that you've talked about? I forgot the 2 different kinds that you say.
Well, it's not the beans. It's the ristretto and lungo.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's not a bean?
No, those are just Italian words for short and long shot.
Oh, okay.
And they are directly reflective to the ratio of solubles to water. So how much ground coffee to water. So like, when we make drip, we're 1:16.
Right.
A ristretto shot, which is what everyone uses in milk drinks, is 1:2.
Okay.
Very, very dense.
Yeah.
Right. A lungo, or a long shot, is 1:3.
It's starting to click now.
Yeah. So it's just a ratio. Those are terms that reference a ratio.
And you'll be able to do that with this manual one?
Well, that's all related to the dose. So if you think about it, or the amount of water. So I can either put more water through the puck, or put the same amount of water through the puck but less grounds, which is what I've done. Because the piston, this piston will only take 40 grams of water. Period. You cannot, because it's not from a reservoir like a machine would have.
Right.
And so they recommend for a ristretto shot a 15-gram basket. It's just a little baby basket.
So you just adjust your
13 grams.
Okay.
So I reduce that, which increases the ratio of water to solubles. And I have got some beautiful shots, really, really good crema. It's been fun. It's been a fun machine.
See, I'd be willing to try that because you could adjust the ratio compared to most shops.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and I'm with you. I am not a fan of ristretto shots.
Yeah.
And that's what you get at most shops.
Yeah, I don't,
because they have them dialed for milk.
Yeah, I just don't like the bitterness, which I can see where like the milk will kind of mellow that out.
Exactly.
So,
but if you're going to just drink espresso, I think long shots are the way to go. So they're just light. This is the lighter shot, it just tastes good. So, well, we got our coffee talk in. That's good.
Yeah, and I'm not drinking coffee because early on, I felt right before Lent season started when we're filming this, the coffee. God asked me to stop drinking coffee. And so it's like, okay, which was challenging for the first day and a half, struggling with headaches and stuff.
Yeah.
But the Lord really revealed some stuff within the first week about caffeinating myself and striving. And like, I mean, I couldn't believe how quickly he responded. A lot of times it doesn't happen that quick. And so he's just been doing some deep soul work in me. And who would have thought by removing coffee, how he would speak to me in that. So I do feel released from it, just because he's already spoke to me, but I'm trying to honor it as well. However, to not be legalistic about it, I did enjoy 1 cup of coffee, 300-gram dose on my Sabbath, because I want to celebrate with the Lord.
It's what Sabbath is for.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just had a smaller dose of coffee and I tell you what, like it was one, like I'm doing it with my quiet time and sitting with the Lord, and it's just this beautiful moment. So
there's no fasting on Sabbath.
Right. So I'm not trying to be legalistic or anything like that about it. And I think what I'm fascinated so much about is how quickly the Lord spoke to me through abstaining from coffee. I mean, how silly is that? But I mean, he does his thing. So yeah, I love it.
Well, it's more about his call and invitation than it is the thing.
Right.
You know, he's inviting you to do something that he knows is going to make his voice more clear to you.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Right. Yeah. And he's just been doing so much soul work in me, which we'll get into in our book discussion here a little bit. It's just fascinating to me. So listeners, if the Lord's ever prompting you to maybe remove something for a time period, man, I hope that little story would be encouraging to you to maybe fast from something and see what the Lord wants to reveal to you.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, the last time you were with us, listeners, viewers, Pastor Pam and I finished up kind of the second section, and Kinsey and I, we really only have a small section before this is done because a bulk of this, the end of this book is John Mark's Studious. Like all of this right here at the end is, he calls it extras, and it's literally just his footnotes.
Yeah.
Because he's very well researched. So we have a small amount of content to really go through. So
You think we'll get through all of it today?
I do.
Okay.
We'll definitely do it in 2 episodes, if not one.
Okay.
We'll see. Now, we did talk a lot here about coffee and espresso, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see. But so we, friends, we're on the section Practicing the Way, Take Up Your Cross, and we're beginning on page 208. Pastor Brandon, what's sticking out to you?
I guess it would be that second paragraph, Jesus' invitation, as I have repeated and how do you say that word?
Nauseam. Ad nauseam.
I knew you would know that word. Was not to convert to new religion called Christianity, but to apprentice under him into a life in the kingdom of God. I kind of had a religious background growing up. So it's just that shift into he uses the word apprentice a lot, and I do like that word, but just being that follower, that disciple, the apprentice of Jesus, it is a complete mind shift, but for who? For God and his kingdom. And I just love how he sets that tone right off the bat.
Yeah. I was struck just the sentence above that. Practicing the way of Jesus will always be a minority activity. That's Mark Scandrette. It really is. You know, we are really supposed to be different from the world and kind of set apart and set aside. And man, I love the difference that you just described between religious belief,
good things, like even the practices, but there was no. I mean, you could probably argue that the some of the practices could be turned into something that they were never intended to be.
Talk more about that.
Well, okay, we'll go back to fasting, right? Like we can go to Lent and say that I'm going to abstain from all of these things, but within that, are we actually searching the Lord within that? And that was my heart with coffee, because it was about 3 days before when Lent started, and I'm like, really, Lord? Like coffee? And so I had that conversation with him before Lent even started, and then when I'm in it, It's like, okay, it was hard at first because of the headaches and feeling a little drowsy from just the lack of caffeine. But I was truly searching the Lord in that. I'm not trying to, my intent's not to puff myself and look how awesome I am, but I could have just made it this religious thing and kept moving on with my day, or just drink Red Bulls or something to replace it. But I was truly trying to seek the Lord, and man, he went to the caverns of my soul. I think, fasting coffee is a practice. I think you could do that with any of them. You could turn them into something that they were never intent. Like, they're all just a means for us to be with the Father. Where sometimes we turn like, hey, look at me and look how religious I am, and look how much better I am than you, because I'm not the world, and look how awesome I am. So I think it really kind of gets down, maybe a simple way to say it is, it's just an attitude of the heart. Yeah.
And I think abstaining from certain things for a period of time, it's an excellent discipline.
Yeah.
John Wesley, the founder of our denomination we serve in, he wasn't convinced that you actually knew Jesus if you didn't fast twice a week.
Oh yeah.
So
he was pretty hardcore about fasting.
Yeah. And historically the church, it wasn't, just like Jesus's words, it was when, not if.
Yeah.
When you fast, this is what you should do. So we know that fasting is something that God has given us as a means to connect with him.
Yeah.
We've been saying, listeners, viewers, this whole season, the spiritual disciplines and practices are proximity issues. Jesus is the one that changes your life, his grace, and that emanates from his very person.
Yeah.
And the closer you get to Jesus, the more that Jesus changes your life. It's not the spiritual disciplines and practices. Those are the methods or the means by which we come close proximity to him. And when we're close to him, he makes us different people.
Yeah.
Which is different than the religious sort of practices,
Yeah.
It's like, this is just what we do. Now, are there times where we do just need to be obedient and do the things that God wants us to do?
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every time we open scripture in the morning, is it like lightning bolts and rainbows and butterflies? It's not, especially if you're reading some genealogies or something,
right.
Something feels wacky, or they dash the baby's heads against the rocks. Like, Lord, what is this?
What is going on?
What is going on? Like, how is this? How are you in this?
Yeah.
But he's in it.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
Something there. Yeah. What else on 208, Kinsey?
That last paragraph, and in context of whether you should apprentice or not apprentice, he responds, that's what many of us do. We delay, we seesaw, we make excuses. Like going on a diet or getting in shape or organizing our closet, we procrastinate. Oh, boy, that hurts. I'll do it later, but later rarely comes. Yeah.
That's all rooted in mortality, right?
Yeah.
An awareness of death.
Right.
I get a lot of flack, but there are truly, I have this giant skull tattooed on my arm here.
Dude, I just talked about a skull tattoo last week.
And some people, and I might get comments here. I might make comments. In the monastic practices, right? Monks, they would come to the breakfast table. You know this history. And one of the brothers who had passed away, they took his skull, right? Literally his human skull, and it was on the dinner table.
I didn't know that.
Every morning they would see the brothers, their brother monk, this guy who they journeyed with in silence and solitude and in their cells and in their crafting of whatever they made.
As a reminder.
Yeah. You might not make it through breakfast, man. And I felt like God was speaking to me about a reminder. And all of my tattoos are reminders. They're all very much memorial stones.
Yeah.
They're memorial stones, different things of life, numbers and certain things. Some of it is just art. Some of it's just like, I like this. It's beautiful. It's a decoration of the temple. I love it, etc. But the skull is this reminder that life is short. And the older you get, the shorter it actually is.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just math, people.
Yeah. Psalm 90:12 teach us to number our days so that we'll be wise with the days that we have. And like that one just wrecks me more and more each and every day. But Amy said that she would not be happy with me if I got a skull tattoo. Yeah,
my wife wasn't really happy when I got a skull tattoo either. Actually. So there is
Okay.
that wasn't
All right.
wasn't my best move as a husband.
You were
no.
helping Lisa practice grace.
Yes, I'm a constant source of her extending grace.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa.
It is true. We do. I mean, we procrastinate.
Oh my goodness.
You know, we've got these people out there. You know who David Goggins is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, listeners, viewers, do not, I repeat, do not go look up David Goggins unless you just want a complete earful of vulgar language, because he is so vulgar. But he was a guy who was he was heavy, and he decided to go in the military, and he did this super extreme thing, lost like 100 pounds, and became an absolute beast in the military. Like I think he was an Army Ranger. And now he's known for these very, very extreme physical things. And he's constantly telling people, you know, you don't have later. Stop being soft. Let's go. He doesn't use that. He uses lots of other
A little stronger adjectives.
very, very choice words. Those that are listening or watching, if you know who Goggins is, you know he's hilarious. And there's so many funny reels of guys who like have basically changed cinder blocks of their bodies, and they're like, "You think I like jumping in the pool? I don't care." And they jump in the pool, and they're all chained up and basically pretending to be Goggins, because he does. He'll wake up in the middle of the night. He'll wake up like 2:00 in the morning. Can't sleep. It's not his wife. He'll ask his girlfriend, pack up the truck. I just put 100 pounds of rocks in my backpack. I'm gonna go run 100 miles. Let's go.
Wow.
And he'll run for 25 hours with a 100-pound pack on.
Ooh.
He just does. He's insane. He's insane. He used to hold the world record for pull-ups.
Oh.
He was a world record holder for pull-ups, and somebody just recently beat him. But he does these extreme things. But I think the biggest thing behind the persona of who Goggins is, it's about procrastination. It's very much about death. And I do think there's some spiritual things. This guy's tormented. As you listen to him, you can tell there's a tormenting.
With the extremes, it seems like there's something going on.
Spiritual. There's a spiritual tormenting that's happening, that's driving this man to do and be the person that he is.
But still something to learn from it of...
Yeah, get after it.
Get after it. Don't procrastinate, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. Yeah. And I'm the worst procrastinator. I've had to work really hard to not procrastinate. And on a side note, you know, I mean, John Mark's focused more on like, don't procrastinate on being an apprentice of Jesus. But I think that same concept rolls into other areas of like, don't procrastinate on forgiving other people, mending relationships, stuff like that. Because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So a lot to learn from that. I will not Google him.
No.
So, but thanks for sharing that.
I love when I hear these things from guests that are on the podcast. You said a moment ago, I've had to work really hard on procrastination. Sneak peek behind the curtains. Tell listeners and viewers, what have you done? What are some steps and things that God's called you to or invited you to deal with procrastination in your life?
Kind of. Sometimes it is a gritting my teeth and doing something I don't want to do. Well, wow, thanks, Lord. So this morning, I'll give you a real fresh bread. This morning, I've been in Psalm 139. That's wrecking me like crazy, really going to the depths of my heart, and just realizing that God's everywhere all the time, including my thoughts. And he still loves me in spite of that. And he revealed to me this morning a sin that I had not confessed. It's not, by the world standards, it wouldn't be a huge thing, but sin is sin. And I told a white lie, and just super convicted by it. In fact, I have to have I need to go have the conversation with someone after we shoot this podcast. And so I'm not looking forward to that, to where up to this point, I just kept pushing it off, but the Lord revealed it to me this morning. Every time I think about it, my heart rate just goes up. I can feel like it's pounding through my chest. That, like, when I get that feeling, I know I need to go do this. That's just been an indicator in my life. And so I have to go tell this person that I lied, and I've already confessed it before the Lord, but I need to confess it to this person. And I don't want to do that. And I know this person will be absolutely gracious and they're going to be like, I didn't even think about it anymore. And, but the Spirit brought it up to me this morning, because when you're praying a prayer of, oh, search me, God, man, he will search you. And so, that's one example right now is I don't want to go do it, but I'm going to go do it. My heart's, even right now talking about it, my heart rate is elevated right now, which just shows that I need to go do it. So maybe by me saying it publicly before you and the podcast listeners,
no way out.
Yeah, there's no way out. So by the time this post, ask me if I had my conversation with the person I needed to talk to. You can hold me accountable on that. So
I hear you saying you've dealt with procrastination by doing the exact opposite, which is being quick to respond.
Yeah, if I don't respond quickly, I won't do it.
Sure. You'll continue.
I'll just continue to procrastinate it, and then it gets worse, and it's like, oh boy. So yeah, I guess that would be is I have to deal with it right now, very aggressively. So
good deal. Okay. Yeah. 209. Anything sticking out to you on 209?
I didn't mark anything on that page.
I didn't either. Okay. Okay, we're going into 210, a heading that John Mark is calling surrender. I got pages and pages of stuff here.
I feel like we just need to read this whole section.
You've got the same thing, the exact same things I have highlighted there. So, yeah, I'll read that. The second two sentences after the first paragraph, under the heading of surrender. To follow Jesus will require you to leave something behind. Following Jesus, here's the superlative, always requires you to leave something behind. Well, unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, it can't, it can't grow.
Right.
Unless Jesus had come as a human and lived a perfect life and died for us, we could not have new life in God.
Right.
So death is required in life.
Yeah.
Right.
Mortification.
Yes. If you want to see something grow, I mean, what's the best thing that you can put on your garden?
Manure.
Compost, which is rotting, right? You need to put something that's nutrient rich into your soil in order to see something grow.
Yeah.
You got to sow some death into the soil and the plants will grow. I love that he says the word it always requires. Beware of those simple, quick hacks.
Oh, yeah. Especially in our culture, because that's all we know are simple, quick hacks.
One-day shipping.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Microwave, not crock pot, or even a smoker, right? Like we want the meal now. And
you just can't get a brisket in an hour.
Right.
It takes 16, 18 hours to get a brisket.
Are we allowed to go down bunny trails at all or no?
Of course, man.
So I cooked a steak on my smoker for the first time.
Wow.
It took 2 hours.
Okay. Did you put like a probe in it to get it to temp?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I bring it to room temp. I season it. And I put it on the smoker at like 200. And I brought it up to 125. That took like 45 minutes. So then I wrapped it in foil. And then my smoker has where the flames will come out of it. So that took another half an hour or so for the grill to get up to temp. I get it up to 500 degrees. And then I'm just searing it on both.
Out of it.
Dude, it was one of the best steaks I've ever had. But I had to wait a really long time. Like, I will not eat a steak at a restaurant when I can cook it that.
I know.
Although it took 2 hours of my time.
Right.
But it was totally worth it.
Yeah.
I think that connects with this. Like, sometimes good things take a long time, or we need to put things to death.
It requires sacrifice.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
You gave 2 hours of time to experience this really great meal. And that's really the truth. I mean, Jesus said that we are to pick up our cross every few weeks and follow him when we want.
Yeah.
Right?
Just whenever it's convenient.
What does he say, listeners, viewers? Jesus says, pick up your cross daily and follow me.
Geez, I feel like it can be hourly on some days.
Yeah, moment by moment,
Especially when stuff's hitting the fan, like it's like, okay, Lord. Yeah. And where I'm at now in my walk, I've really had to live this out, that I've had to leave a lot of stuff behind. So depending on what season your walk is, like early on in my walk, like it was friends.
Oh yeah.
Like people that I've been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
Just a way of doing life, the way I used to spend my money, like all of that it almost seems ancient now in the way that I used to live compared to how I live now. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like, 10 years from now, if the Lord blesses that. So.
What else on surrender on page 210?
I didn't mark anything else on that page.
So I've got Bonhoeffer's quote there in the middle.
Yeah, I do.
When Christ calls a man, he bids him come and die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he could just get right after
Thanks,
it.
man. That's super cheery on this Monday morning while we record this podcast.
And he literally lived that. He was a martyr. So,
Well, we identify. That's what baptism is. That's what the life of God is. It's a slow dying to self,
right.
which is not fun.
No.
Yeah.
But it is rewarding. Like it's not like, it's difficult.
It's not fun to the right part of us.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, it's hard to wrap your head around it. Going back to your seed analogy of, I don't know if it's plants don't have feet, although you're supposed to talk to plants, I guess. That's what they say on the internets and stuff. Yeah. You have to tell it before you cut a branch off and stuff. I've literally seen this on the internet. Anyways, I don't know if it's painful to a plant to lose its seed or whatever, but that thing did need to die. And then once it was in the earth, whatever that process was, that slight decay of the outer shell and all that stuff before it would actually sprout and begin to put a root down into the It's the same thing for us. We're just trying to get to that point. So
yeah, listeners, viewers, you've heard me talk this whole season from time to time about our orchard that we used to have and the pruning process of the fruit trees and the arbor, the grapevines. We even pruned our tomato plants. Like we pruned.
Okay.
There's ways to prune those. But if you don't prune, you will never get growth.
Right.
You'll never get growth. It's required. How about 211? I got
you highlighted the whole page.
Yeah. The second paragraph.
Yeah, go for it. Cause I got the third one.
Okay, cool. For most of us in the West, the cross isn't literal. It's a metaphor for a settled intention to put to death our self-will. The root of our human problem, to die to self, as the saying goes, or as Jaroslav Pelikan, the professor of religious history from Yale, put it, Christ comes into the world to teach men how to die. Again, just kind of a parallel to Bonhoeffer's quote. What else did you have there?
So that next paragraph below it, surrender is the foundation of the spiritual life. I mean, we could just end it right there. One of my favorite definitions of discipleship is a lifelong process of deepening surrender to Jesus. This alone is the ground on which a life of apprenticeship to Jesus is built. As Jesus himself said at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, all the other houses are built on sand. And like that totally describes what my journey's been. I'm just continuing to try to surrender. So after I left the box, I went home, I showered before I came here. And
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yes. There was parts of me that were very offensive. But I put on the speaker. I was like, like I love that song, I Surrender. It's old now from Hillsong, but I just cranked that baby up, and I feel like that's my life song is I'm constantly trying to surrender, and but I keep clawing at these little areas that I don't want to hold open-handed. It's like I just try to get a fingernail into it instead of just holding parts of my soul and my heart open-handed. And he just keeps revealing that to me. And so I'm just sobbing in the shower like, Lord, I'm sorry for continuing to put a nail in this particular area. And then just being reminded of my quiet time this morning about this sin. It's like, Lord, I'm sorry. And I just kind of felt his peace just kind of reign over me at that moment. Literally, as the shower's beating down on me, I could almost just feel his peace. It wasn't a condemnation sort of thing. It's just he does want the caverns of our soul. He wants every depth of it. And some of it hasn't been explored yet. And so that's where I think Psalm 139 helps us explore those caverns in our soul.
Yeah, I think of that.
How's that for a word picture?
It's good. No, it's good. I think of, when I think of the word surrender, I think of battle. And I think of this war that happens, and when someone surrenders, they wave a white flag.
Yeah.
Right? They wave this white flag of surrender, and that white flag is to say, I give up. You've won me. You've beat me. You've defeated me. And in some ways, that's a big part of what discipleship is. It's that dying of the flesh, the sinful desires, and saying, that's coming under submission to the Spirit, to the truth of what God's Word says. And then when we kind of come into that place of surrender, that's where the great blessing is. Like, we didn't feel that it was going to be blessing because it hurt along the way. But once it's done, then there's like the peace like you're talking about.
Yeah.
I had the bottom two sentences there. Love for God and surrender to Him are virtually indistinguishable. Jesus Himself said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. You see, another far less popular synonym for surrender is obey.
Yeah.
We don't like that word.
That's in those moments, that's where my heart's pounding.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I got to be obedient. Don't procrastinate on this.
Yeah, he wants us to obey for sure. 2:12, what else?
The whole page.
Come on, I got it too. Start reading them.
First paragraph, within the heart of true discipleship is a settled intention of the will to obey Jesus. As unpopular as the idea of obedience is in the modern era, Jesus assumes that his disciples will obey his teachings because that's the very nature of discipleship, learning to obey everything Jesus has commanded you.
Anything else, though it may use Christian language, is not truly Christian.
He went after it there.
So a Christianity as defined by disobedience, it's another gospel. Like Paul talks about in Galatians 2.
Oh, yeah.
It's another gospel. It's another truth.
Yeah.
Obedience is at the heart of what it means to follow Jesus. And that's not an easy truth.
Yeah.
Because when we disobey, we are not being disciples.
Right.
We're being something else.
Yeah, we love Jesus as the Savior, but not as the Lord. And if he's telling us to do something, we have to obey to the Lord.
And, I don't know, Kinsey, I know you have experience with this, but God is like ready and willing to help us. When we'll come to him and we'll say, we sense a call to be obedient, right? And like you did this morning, and you could cry out and just say to God, help me do what you're saying is right. Help me to do the thing that you're telling me to do. And he will. Like he will.
Yeah.
And we never know the impact of other disciplines and practices in our lives and how that brings about obedience in other areas. So I truly believe, and I don't understand these connections, but your willingness when we're done recording this podcast to stand up from that chair and go find whoever this person is could be a direct reflection and an empowerment from your choice this morning to get up and put your gym clothes on and physically discipline the temple that God's given you. You received power in your spirit and soul to be obedient to Jesus in another area of your life because you said yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
To do something different with your physical body, which is his temple.
Yeah.
The power flows in all these areas. So,
well, literally my prayer as I was walking out of the office into my van was, Lord, I don't want to go. I need your help to be able to go do that, to go to the box.
Because it sucks.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah. There's times that I do enjoy going, and there's other times where...
Yeah, it's a grind.
It's a grind.
It's a grind. And that's real. I mean, I think that's been a real misnomer in the church where we share this gospel with people. It's a gospel of flowers and sunshine and no suffering and no difficulty, no struggle. And that's just not real.
Yeah.
That's just not real.
No, that is a good word picture of these practice. Like, it's not always this, like, I think you could argue that, maybe CrossFit could be spiritual. I'm just seeing it as physical, trying to help, my temple for the Holy Spirit. But I wasn't looking at it to show me, well, yeah, this obedience actually will play out over here as well. So that is interesting. I do like that. And if I sat in that long enough, I could probably see that play out in several other areas as well.
I'm completely convinced in the world of spiritual formation, our physical lives, our emotional lives, and our spiritual lives are all intrinsically linked. They cannot be separated.
Right.
And what happens in one area happens in another.
Yeah.
And the power that we receive by being obedient in one area can empower us in other areas.
Yeah.
It's kind of like parenting. And I've said this before, listeners, viewers, please, if your conviction isn't this way of parenting, don't take this as prescription. But my wife and I, we employed the rod of correction in our home. And when we had that conversation with our children, we would say that to them. We would literally have a conversation. We never, ever once, I can say, ever spanked our children in anger. We sat down with them and we would say, we have no understanding how your heart is connected to your backside. We don't get it. But we believe that God's command is for us to do this, that there's foolishness in your heart. And it's the foolishness that says there is no God. The fool says in his heart, there is no God. That's the foolishness that's bound up there. And God says the rod of correction drives it far from you. We don't understand it. We don't understand this connection between this physical thing, this act, and how it will change your spiritual life.
Yeah.
But we believe God's word. We're believing that this is what God has for us. So I think there are a lot of those sorts of connections that we're just not aware of.
Yeah. I mean, fasting, I do that.
Exactly.
I purposely, what's the word I want? I intentionally deprive myself of pleasure. That way, when that pleasure is taken away from me, not by my own will, it's actually easier and I'm not as reactive to whatever that thing is.
You're not as addicted to it.
Right.
You don't have to have it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Paul's words. I beat my body daily to put it into submission. Paul is saying to his body, you're not going to be the boss of me.
Yeah.
That's not easy, but it's important. I see you got some of the same things. Keep reading.
Did we get to the
No,
Did we get to this one?
No.
Okay. An apprentice of Jesus has no other will than the will of God. Your flesh may war against you, and the habits of sin in your body of death may sabotage your best intentions. Your heart may fail under the emotional weight of life, but your will is not in question. Your will is devoted to Jesus. I underlined and starred all of that.
Well, the last sentence of the next paragraph, I think, is a good follow-up to what you just read.
Yeah, I started that.
It takes more self-mastery to submit your will, than to wield it.
Yeah, great play on words there.
Yeah, yield versus wield.
Yeah.
Yielding means I take my sword out and I give it to my enemy, and I yield my power to the enemy. Wielding is me pulling that sword out and saying, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm stabbing you.
Yeah.
I'm fighting you. You have, I'm wielding the power that I have. Moses was described as the meekest man on earth, and meekness means strength under control. Power under control. Think about when Jesus was challenged, what did Jesus say? Hey, bro, I could call 10,000 angels right now and smoke you.
Right.
How about those?
Yeah.
How about those apples? You want me to do that? Because I can.
Right.
If you really want to see some power, I can bring it down.
He could have debated the Pharisees up and down, made them look like fools.
Yeah.
He didn't do that.
But as a lamb to the slaughter, he gave himself.
Right. Surrendered to the Father's will. Not my will, but your will be done.
He even asked. He went to the garden and said, God,
Right.
oh my goodness, Father, if there's another way to get your will done, can we go that way instead?
goodness.
But nevertheless, if this is what you say is best for the people that you've given me to love, I will do as you say.
Yeah.
Would to God that we would have the heart of Jesus and yield our wills to his, and even to each other. The scripture talks about submission, submitting one to another. What does that look like? Preferences and desires. And I mean, we're both married guys. That's like the story of marriage. It's a journey of learning to yield to the other person, to give oneself to the other person, and to think of the other in a higher regard than yourself.
That's why I'm not going to get a skull tattoo.
You're better. You're a better man.
Sorry.
It's true.
Had to be my...
The next
next
paragraph.
Okay.
True greatness lies in what the psychologist Gerald May called willingness, not willfulness.
Yeah.
Or as Thomas Keating beautifully said, the chief act of the will is not effort, but consent. It's to surrender to a power far beyond our own to change us, and to a love we can only begin to fathom. And that's his promise.
Yeah.
Like if we'll yield instead of wielding, that's why I love this vein of truth that God's speaking about spiritual disciplines and practices. It is a yielding through these things. It's not a wielding.
Yeah.
I don't fast so that I can have power.
Yeah.
I fast so I can be near Jesus, and then he empowers me.
Yeah.
Like he changes me.
Yeah.
That sort of framing of disciplines and practices destroys the idol of legalism. It keeps that legalism in extremes at bay because Jesus is the center. He is the center of what's happening, not the thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I lived a lot of my life as a follower of Jesus, and it was about the things that I was doing, not about being close to Jesus. And there's a difference.
Yeah. Maybe an analogy to go with what you just said is like with fasting, like, am I fasting so that this thing will take place? Or am I fasting because Jesus, I need to see you in this thing that's taking place? I think it's the motive, the heart is completely different in that.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else on 212 before we go to 213?
No, I just got half of the 213.
Okay. Start reading there. I think we'll close up shop there, and then we'll do the last few pages in the final episode.
So that second paragraph on 213.
I got it too.
As a result, I find myself caught in the cross currents of desire. I want Jesus's life, but I don't want to die.
What about you?
I wrote, ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the battle. Like he reveals things that need to die. And it's like, I'm, as John Mark would say, the cross currents of desire. And that's this season that I'm in right now. I feel like is the current, and it swirls around and it goes different ways. And I'm ready for the season to be done.
You're still pretty young. It won't be done.
Yeah.
It isn't done until we're perfected, right? It's when we're on the other side of eternity.
Did you mark? Yeah.
Yeah, the next paragraph.
I started that one.
Of course, the great paradox of Christian spirituality is that it's in dying that we live. It's in losing our false self that we discover our true self. And it's in giving up our desires that our deepest desires are finally sated. Back to the marriage analogy, we used to make this joke, and it was kind of crass, but you'd look at a couple and you would say, oh yeah, he's the head of the house, but she's the neck. And she turns that head wherever she wants it to go, talking about a power differential and an imbalance. And the follow-up to that was happy wife.
Happy life.
Happy life. Now, at first, when I first heard those kind of phrases, I was like, I don't like that. That sounds weird. But the older I get and the longer I've been married, this December will be 25 years that Lisa and I have been married. Man, is that true? Truly, when my wife is happy, when I see the joy of God in her life, I am happy.
Yeah,
I truly am. And so that's not to say that it's happy wife, happy life has this like just basically do and be whoever your wife wants you to be, by her, whatever, it has a weird connotation, but the truth behind it is very real, that when we live sacrificial lives, serving and loving, the greatest joy is on that side of things versus I want what I want when I want it now, whatever it is. Yeah. Why can't you do this thing for me? Why can't you be this person, wife, or what? You know what I mean? That's not where real happiness is.
Right.
That's actually death. and destruction, and real death and destruction, not the death of desires, which is what God wants.
Yeah.
Anything else on 2:13?
Trust in Jesus is at the very heart of discipleship. And that's what a lot of this boils down to is like, I mean, we're talking a lot about mortification here. So like, do we trust Jesus as the great physician, the surgeon, knowing that there's certain things that need to be put to death in order for vivification, in order for true life to take place?
Whoever thought, like, hey, I think if we numb this area of this person's body, we cut them open, we take this part of their body out, they're going to feel better. Like, who...
Can't wrap my head around that.
No, like this is the way we were made. Like the appendix, and your tonsils, stuff.
Oh yeah, the tonsils.
Those get taken out all the time. I have my tonsils, right? But who just like was like, oh, you're not feeling well in these ways and this ways. Let's go ahead and knock this person completely out, and then take a knife and cut that thing out of their body, and then they'll just live without it. But that's the kind of trust that Jesus requires.
Yeah,
he's like, man, I have the greatest tools. I have the greatest way of making you live a happy and whole life. And I think that's what Jesus means. It's better to enter the kingdom with one eye.
Yeah.
It's better to enter the kingdom with one hand.
Yeah.
You know, he's not talking about dismembering bodies. He's just talking about sacrificial death, like what needs to die in order that you can live the fullest life. And listeners, viewers, that brings us full circle back to our desire for you. Our desire for you in season 4 of Radiant Reflections, now 29 episodes in. We're going to finish on an even number. We'll finish on episode 30.
Okay.
It'll have taken us 30 episodes to go through Practicing the Way. But our desire for you is to create this rule of life. And again, we're defining rule of life. It's the way that you can live the most happy, joy-filled life on earth and bear the most fruit for God. Be a multiplier of fruit. Be someone who multiplies God's kingdom as it is in heaven here on earth. That is the meaning and purpose of life. Let's get super existential right now. And that's been our goal. You remember Kinsey shared several episodes ago, he used the Practicing the Way work sheet to start crafting his own rule of life. And he had that document here. I've talked a little bit about how I've developed my rule of life and my practices of regularly checking in and tweaking those things and looking at them. So please do it. Don't procrastinate. Surrender your will. I think the call of obedience through this season of Radiant Reflections, it is for you to consider this rule of life. It is for you to begin taking steps in obedience towards doing something along these lines. So as always, we want to encourage you to like, subscribe, share this episode on your Facebook page, shoot it out on X. Do what I do. I text podcasts prolifically to the people I love.
You do. He's really good at it.
I share podcasts all the time because I love learning and I love growing. And I love when I hear content that matches a word that God has spoken. This morning I shared this with the staff, a book that like Pastor Ryan shared this graphic in his teaching yesterday. And there's a book that's like, it basically is the double click on what hit that graphic. It's called The Critical Journey.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I got to share this with my friends. And so we want you, if you've been encouraged and blessed in any way by Brandon and I's conversation, share this with other people. We'll be back. For you, it'll be a week, but we will be back in a couple minutes
right.
to share another episode of Radiant Reflections. See you then.